So I was waiting and just about to do that, and I see them. I can still hear the bullets flying, and I can even see some flying past me, like all around me. And you become numb to after a little while, you know, because it hasn't hit you, it hasn't hit you, you know, like it's going around. And I saw this little laser light moving around, and I saw it go to a guy who was standing in front of me, and I saw it aimed at his knee, and just the expression in my face, it seemed that he saw that in my eyes, and he just looked down and moved his leg, and the bullet just missed his leg and slammed him. He started laughing like, oh. That was really, like, it's amazing to say, like, it was such a horrific act. Because we knew we were on the right, and because we knew we got nothing to lose, and it's just ourselves, you know. We don't have women and kids in our hands like the Palestinian people. We're all young men, we can handle it, you know. So that's how we felt. And I really wanted to take this soldier, not to hurt him or not to do to him what he's been doing to us or to the Palestinian people or to anyone else, but so that he could be used to negotiate with the Israelis to go back or to give us medical aid at least. So that was really why, like, we thought of taking a soldier. You know, he'd already killed people, you know, so at least it maybe taking one of their soldiers would make them stop killing people. So when I was trying to do that, it was trying to come down. Unfortunately, there was a sniper rifle at the top, and he aimed at my legs and he shot me twice. When I got shot in the leg twice, I didn't even realize what was happening. There was a hole in my leg, and I could see like blood squirting out, and there was a puddle on the floor. And within seconds, my leg became like red. But like it doesn't hurt you on the spot. It could be the adrenaline, or it could be just it doesn't like hit your nerves strong enough, or I don't know what it is. So I just pushed my leg down and I said, well, I've seen what's happened to the other people here. They fall down on the floor and get carried. So I told my friend, just wait here, I'm going to walk to the atrium at the bottom. So I opened the cabin door, I walked inside, and there's all these people lining up around, and you're all looking through the glass like, what's happening, what's going on. And we just continued walking down the stairs, holding the thing, and then things started getting blacker and blacker and blacker, and I kept walking, and then I just fell. And later on, after the whole thing, I saw a video where there was a guy when one of the soldiers had been captured, they opened his jacket and they found a hit list there with certain people they wanted. So he was showing the camera the hit list that they found. And then you can see me walk down the stairs and then just fall. And then someone go, oh, this guy's been hit, you know? And they came and they picked me up and they carried me down to the bottom of the ship to the atrium. I woke up and I just see people around and I see so much blood everywhere, like blood all over the floor, and everyone's like there's a bit of panic, and the women, it's where the women were, they were trying to help out with those who were injured, and they took my trousers off and they put tried to wrap a bandage around my wound. Unfortunately, the bullet hit the femoral artery, which is like a major artery in your leg, so the blood wouldn't stop, so it just kept coming out and coming out. Anyway, they picked me up and put me on one of the chairs next to all the other wounded. And there was an Israeli soldier next to me, and he had tiny little cuts like this and bruises because he was in a fist fight, like a basic fist fight right up there. And when I asked the people around, like, what happened to this guy, how did he get caught, they said, as he was coming down from the, they don't, you know, like I said, they'd already killed people. As he's coming down on the rope, a few people who were standing there grabbed him. And they took his gun off and they threw it into the water, and then they took him inside. And they said that as soon as they took him inside and he was overpowered, they didn't lay a hand on him. There was a guy who was there, said we didn't lay a hand on him, you know. We took him straight to the medical room to deal with his tiny little bruises and cuts them up here. So he's sitting next to me and the guy's like almost crying because he's terrified. Because he's looking around and he's terrified, like, I mean, of course, you know, if you've done something wrong, if you live your life doing something wrong, if you constantly do something wrong, the minute you're not in control anymore, you become terrified. Your guilt catches up with you, your fear of death catches up with you, you know it's all for a paycheck and nothing else, and you know, like it starts catching up, and that's what we saw in his eyes. We saw so much fear, and I don't know why, because there was a man standing there around him, just in case any of the other people on the ship were gonna like shout at him or hit him. There's a man standing there saying, no, no one will touch him, we don't do this now. As soon as he's overpowered, that's it, we just keep him there and we treat him. And the doctor was coming to treat him while my wife was there amongst them. The doctor left people there whose stomachs were falling out from bullets, and one man whose brain came out from his back, and my wife was witnessing this in front of me. He said the doctor was dealing with these people and he left to deal with those bruises on the soldier. So this was really the humanity, contrary to what the media and the news might tell you or what Panorama showed you. So, and he was laying next to me, and that was really what I saw after that, was what I can tell you that I witnessed was inside that aid room. There was a lot more going on outside that I heard about after, or I heard about during the event, but that was what I witnessed with my eyes. While we were in the aid room, it was many hours passed by, and just more and more people were being carried in, more and more people being carried in. And I heard that, already many had died, like 8, 9, had been killed. I heard there was a young man, while I was there, he was pulled out because he had a camera in his hand, and he was assassinated. He was shot point blank on the floor. This man was 19 years old, and he was a Turkish and an American dual citizen. And they pulled him and they put him on the floor and they just fired shots at his head. And this was most of the deaths on the Mavi Marmara. It was from executions, and it made me sick as well after the incident. And they got medals, these soldiers, for what they did. Imagine that. But anyway, I'm going to tell you like the feeling that I saw there around. Even though there was a bit of panic, and I saw around me the mood of those who were injured as well was such a high morale. For instance, there was a guy who, the IV, and I saw this, they put an IV in his arm. And he knew that he was in a bad condition, but he knew that there's not much medicine. He pulled it out after they put it in his arm, and he said, "Now give this to someone else." Now if you know, like when you've been shot, when you're bleeding a lot, you get really thirsty as well. And they hadn't been able to bring water and do all that because they were dealing with the agent. And nobody was asking for water around it. We were all just laying there, relaxing. We were in a bit of pain, but we were just quiet, watching, and if anyone passes by, we just ask them, "What's the news? What happened?" Upstairs, And then we heard the PA systems announcing. By the way, from the very first shot that was fired, the ship held out a white flag saying, "Stop firing, we've got someone injured here," because no one really expected any firing or any live bullets. And everyone in the ship is awake now, and they said, stop firing, and they put the white flag, and they said, "We'll go back to Turkey." And this was the captain who said it. I don't think some of us feel that way, but and he said it, and they refused. They wanted to make a point out of what happened. So we were laying there, and I just see more people getting carried in, and I asked what's happened, and they say, there was a man who was on the second level, and he had a fire hose, and he was using the water to stop the soldiers coming. And the soldiers, they shot him, and he tried to catch it with his arm, and they shot him again, and pretty much he held the soldiers just with that fire hose for 20 minutes, and they killed him over there. There was one of the nurses, her husband, he was killed. He was maybe 40 or 50 years old man, and as they brought him down, she was trying to resuscitate him, and seeing his dead face, and he died in her hands. And there was really a lot of this, and some people were chaotic, other people they were relaxed. It all depends on, I don't know, how much they feel inside them, or what their idea was, what their intentions or ideologies were, I don't know. So following this, it was about 7 or 8 hours of this type of battle. We heard in the PA systems that again and again from the beginning, they're saying, "Look, go back to your seats, everyone." And this was the captain. By the way, the captain wasn't part of the flotilla crew. He was an independent. He was just hired to sail. And I don't know, if you don't believe in this, why you would take up a mission like that, but he did it. And he brought his wife and he brought his child with him. And this was the only child who was on the ship. And we heard on the speakerphones, "You have been defeated, go back to your seats. The ship has been overpowered, go back to your seats." And then we heard, "They have the captain's baby, go back to your seats." And then that's when really everything stopped. Everyone went back to their seats. And I was asking them, because even though we were in this, we wanted that feeling that no, we didn't let them, you know, we didn't let them. And I asked, well, what happened? Why is everyone coming back? And they said, no, they have the captain's baby, we can't do this anymore, like, they're going to kill him, you know. And after killing all what they've killed and the way they've brutal, it's not something we'd doubt, you know what I mean? So everyone came back, and then the people began to move out of the injured cabin. There was about 40 people who were heavily injured, another 20 who were lightly injured. My wife was telling me that she was treating the hand of an Indonesian doctor who had been shot because he had a camera or something. And she was treating his hand, and there was a man standing there next to him. And she was getting a little bit annoyed because, you know, it's a really busy thing and everyone's trying to walk and help each other, and this guy is just standing there. So she looked at him and said, why are you standing here? And then he turned around and he'd been shot in the back and in the bum, and he didn't want it, he was too shy to ask her to do something about it. So straight away he got the doctor and they sat him down and they treated him. But like, I'm trying to show you the morale that was on the ship, you know. Yeah, my wife was, she was treating someone, and they brought me in, and when they put me on the chair, she came to me and she goes, I knew you were going to come here. And that was quiet. And then maybe she stayed with me about 2-3 minutes, and then she left. And she's like, oh, I've got to deal with all these other things. So I was happy. Now I'm sort of happy about it, but and yeah, the next thing was all the doctors and the nurses, except for one doctor, one nurse, and this lady called Hanan Zorbi, who was a member of the Israeli Knesset, a Palestinian member. Just these 3 people were left in the aid room. Everyone else was put in another cabin, and the Israelis had taken over. And all these wounded were left untreated. The doctors were all pushed out except for that one doctor and that one nurse. And this lady was left because she was meant to help the dialogue or something. And as the soldiers came in, they had by now they must have landed their helicopters and took all everything they want to take, because they brought German shepherds in as well. And these things were growling, and they were setting them off at all the people who were wounded. They were shouting, and they came with their guns fully pointed. And these were big, like now I could see what they were using on us, you know, they were big like rifles, like I don't even know what they are, like the machine guns or something like that. And they were really armed with machetes in the back and grenades and all bulletproof vests and helmets and riot gears, like they were armed like they were about to take over a country. I mean, that was almost as much people that came. Like they would have taken over Bahrain by now. Yeah, but they looked like very intimidating in the way they were. Well, the minute you looked at their eyes, you didn't get intimidated anymore, because you could see so much terror in their eyes from nothing, I don't know why. They were entering a room where there's about 40 people injured, not one weapon, not one person who can barely stand, but they were terrified, you know. They were pointing their guns at each one of us as they were walking in, and they're shouting, what about this one? And then the Palestinian member of the Israeli Hanan Zorbi, she had to ask the doctor, what happened to this guy, what happened to this guy, where's this guy from, where's that one from, all these questions, and he didn't even know the answer. They were getting harassed, the doctor and the nurse, by the soldiers. They were getting pushed around and shouted, pinned against the wall, threatened to be bashed by the back of the rifle, and we were just watching all of this. The nurse, like, she came to me and she said to me, look, the soldiers are going to start moving everyone, don't resist in any way, because they'll make it really painful. I said, no, I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying here on the ship. They said, no, you have to go to Israel. I said, no, I'm not going anywhere, this is where I am, that's it. Then I tell them not to take me, I'm happy here. And then I started hearing people like moaning and like getting hurt a bit, and I tried to get up to look to see, and the soldiers began taking from the other end of the cabin the ones who were wounded. And they were getting pushed around and hit and beat. Now, I couldn't see too much from where I was, so I won't tell you what they did to everyone else, but I'll tell you what they did to me, because that's exactly as I witnessed it.